Okay, in this video we're going to build a computer. We will need a screwdriver, a pair of snips and a handful of tie wraps. Bob these off to one side for a minute. So over here I have the motherboard, memory and processor, which I will unpack now. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get my anti-static band from over here and bob that on, and we'll start to unpack these. So this is a basic system, sort of office computer as it were. It's a AMD A7300 processor as the processor itself. I'll just put this box off to one side. We've got a little manual card that comes with it and a little sticker. So we'll leave the manual card and the sticker off to one side and bob the processor up there for now. Then we've got the memory. Which again we'll place over there and get rid of this rubbish. So in here we've got the motherboard. So we'll open the motherboard box and then we can use that to store other bits and pieces. We'll take the motherboard out, we'll just pop that there for a second. We've got SATA cables and the back plate for the motherboard as well. We don't need this bit. In here we've got a installation guide, manuals and CDs with drivers on. So we'll put those in there for now and we'll close this box. So the first thing that we need to do, we need to put the processor and the memory onto the board. So we'll flip it over and open this box, open this bag up, sorry. And we'll lay the board on the bag on top of the box. Spin that around, a bit easier to see what we're doing. So we open up the socket and we'll grab the processor first of all. Now the processor has a little arrow which is in this top corner on this particular processor, and that tells you whereabouts on this socket to line it up with. There's an arrow in this corner here, so if we put it that way around, that drops in place and it's not going anywhere, it's fixed in there. Put the ZIF socket down, get rid of that rubbish, and then we've got a processor fan, which we need to work out where we actually connect that. So we've got CPU fan header here, so we'll put that on like that and put the clip in at this side and put the clip in at this side. I do prefer Intel for their processor attachment. There, okay, so that's sat in place correctly there, and we'll put the CPU header on and we'll just bundle these up. I'll just quickly put a zip tie around those. And a pair of snips just to nip that end off. Just that goes in the rubbish. Put the stick of memory in. A little bit of pressure pushes that down, and these clips should seal it in. You shouldn't be able to remove it, and those should be fully upright. So that's our motherboard prepped and ready. I'll get rid of this rubbish. So I'm just going to move this off to one side for a second, so that I can see what's going on. I'll bob that up there for now. Put the back plate with that and the SATA wires with that, and we'll move this out of the way. Okay, so next thing we need is the case to actually put everything in. So I'll grab the case now. I just need to unpack it from its box. I'll just cut the tape on the top of the case. Tape that out. And there we have one case. You can see the front of that. It's the Cooler Master Elite 342, although they have now been discontinued. I will put a parts list in the description, although it's not a massively high-spec computer that we're building here, you understand, but just if anybody's interested. So we'll take the thumb screws out and take the side off the case. Pop that down there for now. Put the thumb screws to one side. Inside the case, you normally will end up with a pack of screws and some material that stops the case from getting damp. So we'll get rid of these bits. And then these are all the front panel connections. We'll take the twisty tie off that. So the multicoloured ones here, these are for the hard drive LED, power LED, power switch and reset switch. So just pop those down there for now. And these are the USB header and audio headers for the front of the case. So we're just going to put those out of the way, just give them a little bend and they should stay in position there. So the first thing we need to do, we need to put the back plate in. This is currently just a gap. So grab the back plate, open that back up. And you place it into here, being careful not to cut yourself on the back plate. That just literally just pushes into position there. You get it lined up right, there we go. Pushes into position and we'll just lay flat. Once we've got the back plate in, we can go about putting the standoffs in. So the standoffs are these little brass standoffs, and to do this you grab the motherboard and you can see we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and normally with this type of board they will all be in line. But sometimes this bottom right hand corner is slightly offset, it's a little bit further down. But it does vary per board, but this one is just the sort of more standard layout. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'll put those in now. Number 3, number 4, number 5, and then the last one here, number 6. There we go. So now that we've got our standoffs in, we can place our motherboard into the case, and that's literally just a case of offering the board up with the connectors first into the back plate, and just give it a little bit of a wiggle, make sure everything goes in, and then we're ready to screw the motherboard in with the screws from the motherboard, which I will grab now. So at this point you grab your screwdriver. I find that a long screwdriver has always served me well for this. It means that you can reach right to the base of the case without having to actually put your hand in and get yourself scratched by the case edges and bits and pieces that are lying around. So that's nearly all of those. That's that in. So that's all 6 of those screwed in now. Put the screws over there. Next we need a power supply. So power supply goes in this gap here. I will just unpack that out of this bag over here, out of this box, should I say. So the power supply isn't anything too amazing. We're not building some sort of fancy gaming rig here. We're just building a sort of an office spec machine, and it's a Corsair CX430. The only preference that I have with power supplies is that they are minimum 80 plus certified. Just unpack this. And we're ready to offer it up to the case. So we've got all the power connections here and the power supply. So if we line that up and push that into the back of here. There we go. Get rid of this box. So the next thing we need to screw the power supply in. So we'll just spin the case around for a second. And we'll grab the screws for the power supply. So 4 screws on the back of the power supply hold it in. That's number 1. Nice and tight now. So spin this back round. So the next thing that we need to put in is the CD drive. So we'll move these cables out of the way, just prop them over the top of the case there. We don't need these plastic clamps. We don't use those, we use screws. If you put your hand through here, there's normally there's a metal bit on the second drive bay, but if you push on the back of this, the faceplate comes out there. And we've got our CD drive over here. The normal looking Asus CD DVD reader writer. So we'll bob that in from the side. And we'll make sure that it is flush with the other drive bays in the front. And we'll get some screws to screw that in. So at first we're going to screw in just one side of the CD drive, and then in a couple of minutes we will turn the computer upside down and screw the other side in. It's nice and tight. So we've also, for this computer, for the hard drive, we have a Samsung 120 gig SSD. The environment that this machine is going to be used in has a server, so there's not really much stored on the local drive at all. So we'll get that out of the box, and we will screw that into this position up here with the same screw that we used for the CD drive earlier. There we go. So that's those two items in position. So we need to start to put some cables in now. It's probably best if you start with the main connector for the motherboard, which is this 20 plus 4 pin connector. It's a 24 pin connector in total. So if we put that into the board, and that goes into this position here, and simply rock it backwards and forwards until it clicks and clicks into place, and then we will grab a tie wrap to go around that bundle, just to keep it out of the way for now. There we go, that keeps that out of the way. I'll just snip the end off that. So the next thing that we need is the power for the processor, which is this 8-pin connector, and this goes into this top left hand corner of the board. And I will I'll put a bend on the end of that, and I'll route it past this processor fan that we don't want it to get anywhere near. I will pinch that in, so make a nice tight bundle here. Then we will put a zip tie around that so that it can't go anywhere. There we go. And again, snip that off. So that will be very hard for that to get into the CPU fan. As an extra bit of protection, we can put it underneath the motherboard connector, and then it definitely can't escape and can't get into this fan. The next thing, we need to get power to the CD drive and the solid state drive. We'll see if one of these will fit between the two of them. Yeah, I think that will work for us. We've got one there on the CD drive, and that's not going to be long enough. So I'll put this one in here. Should be a second one that we can use for the solid state drive. And we will collect those up so that we can tidy them. Remove those. One tie wrap around that one, just to tidy that away up there, and then this one we'll do the same, and we'll just collect that one up like that. So those two in and secured. I'll snip these ends of these tie wraps off. Right. Let's look at the bottom of the case. So along the bottom of the case we have the front panel audio, USB headers 1 and 2, and then we've got the header for the front panel. So let's do the front panel header first. Let's move these out of the way for a second. So the front panel headers, most motherboards are laid out exactly the same. So along the top edge, it's an 8-way connector, but we're only going to be using 6. And we've got the positive for the power LED is in the top left-hand corner, and the positive for the hard drive LED is in the bottom left-hand corner. And then the next 2 pins along are usually for the power switch, and the lower pins are for the reset switch. That's those on. Push those under there for now, and we'll tidy those up in a minute. So the next one is this one, which is the USB header. This you can't put on the wrong way, it's completely impossible. It's keyed so that you can only do it one way. The audio header, we only need the HD audio header for this particular build. So we'll secure this other cable off to the above. There we go. Right, okay, again, front panel audio is a keyed connector, so you can't put it on incorrectly. You just push it into place. So we could do the Sata Leads next, and then we'll turn the case over so that we can get to this fan at the front, and we'll see what we need to do with that. So Sata Leads. We've got 2 different types in the box. One has got a right angle plug, and the other one's straight plugs on both ends. So what we'll do, we will use the right angle plug for the CD drive. It's then sort of facing the right direction, and we'll put a couple of loops in that just to tidy that up. Feed it through here, and I'm going to plug that into one of the SATA connectors on the board. There we go. That should stay nice and tidy. And then into the SSD, and I'm going to put the SSD into a lower connector, into this one down the bottom here. There we go. Right, so they're all nice and tidied up. So let's turn the machine around. Just put those in there for now. Turn the machine around so we can have a look at this fan. Just take this other side off. Put that down there. So on this side we've got all of these wires that we just put on the front panel. So we just need to pull the slack of those back. And once we've got the slack pulled back, so they're all nice and tidy, I'll just put a tie wrap around those. Now this particular case has a fan in the front, which is just here. So we've got a Molex to 3-pin fan header adapter here, which we can run diagonally up the case so that we can get to that spare power connector at the top. So I'll run that across here, just to keep it out of the way of the fan. We'll put a zip tie there to stop it from interfering with the fan. That's fine. And while we're on this side of the case, we'll screw the other side of the CD drive in. There we go. other side of the CD drive screwed in. Right, well we're done on this side of the case now, so we can screw the side back on. Put the front screws back in. There we go, right. Back around to where we were. So we should now find that we have a connection here for this front fan, which needs to be attached to this. So what we're going to do, we're going to plug that into there. Just wiggle that until it goes in. And then we're going to bundle all of these bits up. Put one tie wrap around those. And they are going to live in there just below the CD drive. I'll make sure that they're pushed into there nicely. Okay, so that's everything built. We've got our power supply installed and power connected to the motherboard. We've got our CD drive installed, screwed in on both sides, power and SATA wire connected to that. SSD with power and SATA connected. We've got our front fan connected up here. So we are ready to put the side back on here. Put our thumb screws in. This one in here. And we'll stamp the machine up. And I'll grab a power connector. Put some power in there. I got the monitor connection and keyboard and mouse. So that's power supply turned on at the back here. Press of the power switch. Refer to the screen to my side. And that's now posted to the BIOS. So that's a complete build of a machine from bits to built, and that concludes our video for this evening.